rejoins us now, and you heard him say it. Path to the playoff. That's the only thing. So all these people saying all this stuff about Notre Dame wanting to join, the only thing that's going to make them change their mind is if the rules change and they can't win a national title.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think a lot of that talk by, well, in particular, Big Ten fans that were like, well, they have to do it. They have no choice. Their arms twisted. I saw that time and time again over the last few weeks of just, no, I mean, look at the money figures. Notre Dame, they can't pass that up. Notre Dame, no one's giving them $60 million per. They're going to have to bang on the door of the Big Ten. Like, they're just going to have, like, Notre Dame's going to have to do something. Imagine saying that and really believing that Notre Dame's going to be forced into doing something, because I don't believe that for 1 second. I don't believe it for one single second unless the figures that were brought back to them were so minute compared to what the Big Ten's getting, and the playoff suddenly takes a turn to where, I don't know, a Notre Dame that's been making it every year they've been eligible in a 14 playoff suddenly doesn't have a way in. Okay, sure. How does that happen exactly?
Yeah,
it's 4 teams and they get in when they want to. It's going to expand or stay the same, and they're suddenly not going to be in because of conference affiliation, I guess, is the only reason why, right?
Yeah.
So, in theory, then, that would take some maneuvering to explain how, like, the Big 12 champ or the Pac-12 champ. I mean, what's that gonna, like? How's that gonna happen? Is that the Big Ten and the SEC forcing Notre Dame and saying, well, we're the only ones that get playoff spots? Is that everybody that's in a conference saying, gun to your head, Notre Dame, we're all able to be in this playoff, but you're not because you're not one of us? Who's going to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, even if the Big Ten does, is everybody else going to follow suit? No.
That's what Christian mentioned was, okay, so say the Big Ten tries to pull that, right? Yeah. But they're doing that because they want them to join the Big Ten.
Yes.
That's who Notre Dame would join if they joined a league. They're probably not joining the SEC, although if the SEC wanted them, they would.
That would be the real coup. That would be the real chess move.
But if they think that Notre Dame's going to join the Big Ten or nobody, then they don't want the Notre Dame to join the Big Ten.
Why is the ACC going to help block out Notre Dame for Notre Dame to be a Big Ten team?
Yeah.
Someone explain that, please. Please explain why, if Notre Dame's going to be forced into something, it's going to be everybody helping out the Big Ten to get Notre Dame. Because that's the part that does not add up to me when I see all of this. Well, Notre Dame's going to have to. Notre Dame will be forced to. Notre Dame's going to see the writing on the wall. I mean, yeah, there very well may come a point where the money doesn't stack up. I understand that. But I also think there's far too many people that get blinded by the TV money alone. Mm-hmm. Like I know football drives everything, but we are talking about universities, and there's a lot more involved than just football. I know for some it floats practically everything, but not at Notre Dame necessarily.
No, and here's what I'll tell you. So let's just say they make $48 million from their television, their media deal.
They say they want at least 60, but okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I
believe that's right.
Okay, so say they make 60, right? Yeah. So say they make 60 a year, and the Big Ten makes 78. Okay, right. That's $18 million. So, yeah, you don't have
to be clear before we start getting into no, actually, Kevin Warren did. No, we're talking about just the TV pay, or just, what are we talking about? TV, so we can
Tier 1 and Tier 2
Okay,
rights.
so there,
Tier 1 and Tier 2. So, $78 million. Yeah. You're on national television every single week. Like you said, there's no chance of you not being on national television. And you don't need a streaming partner. You don't need it. Like, you can have one, like Peacock can throw it on there because more people want to see it, but you don't need one. You're on a network. And you don't have to share any of that money with anybody but you.
Yeah.
And you get to the $18 million you're not getting is the $18 million fee you're paying to make your own decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to schedule the way you want to, basically. And that was the other thing is like, oh, well, they'll block out Notre Dame from being able to schedule the way that they want to.
Okay, sure.
And it's like, okay, is everybody on board with that? Like, is USC just going to give up Notre Dame for Big Ten pride when they haven't even been in the conference?
Yeah.
Like, that. I mean, so we're just saying F tradition all the way around, huh? All for Kevin Warren, I guess? Yeah. I mean, I get the whole there's going to be, like, only one route for them to go, and I can sort of kind of see how that would happen, but I don't know, man. I don't know how anybody's just forcing them to do anything because, again, you act as though Notre Dame, when you say that, well, they can't pass up an extra $40 million. Sure they can. What are they going to do with that? Like, what are they – I mean, what's going to change all that much if they're not getting as much money as some other teams? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's still Notre Dame. It's not that they're entirely dependent on TV revenue to function as a university or a football program. Like, I think they would be fine, okay? They wouldn't be making as much money as Alabama or I guess actually as Michigan. Well, if that really matters to the folks over there, then okay, then I guess that matters. But to me, I don't think that they're hurting for money in the slightest. And if the whole game's just like who's got the most money in their fist at all times, and like, how is that fun for anybody? It's just, I don't know. The money part is interesting to an extent, but I start to really lose interest when people get more interested about money figures that a school is getting versus, I don't know, their record in 2022. Yeah. Like, that's when I just start to go, like, I love the realignment stuff. I think it's fascinating where all the chess pieces are going to go. But, you know, in terms of some of the like the financial, like, well, they're making more than, yeah, that's cool. But I don't think everybody involved is always just so focused on the money that, yes, it's the driver of a lot of things, but I don't think that would be the thing that, you know, makes Notre Dame anything. So, yeah, it would be the playoff, like you said. But right now, in a 14 playoff, they have as good of a shot as anybody year in and year out, and has been proven with their selections. So, I mean, yeah, show me a scenario where suddenly they're blocked out of a playoff because all the conferences are going to come together and force them out of it, or just the Big Ten and the SEC have their own thing, I guess, and the SEC is just going to go along with the Big Ten and say, yeah, let's block Notre Dame out. And the only way to let them in is if they join your conference, Kevin. Not ours, but yours. Yeah, let's do this to benefit you. What?
Yeah.
Is Greg Sankey going to do that? No. I don't think he's going to do that. I really don't.
Look, and as powerful as Kevin Warren has become, Greg Sankey can wake up in the morning and make just the same kind of decision like that.
And if Notre Dame were to be left out, you mean to tell me that everybody's just going to be like, all right, sorry, Notre Dame, you're not involved anymore? Like, they're not going to go link up with the Pac in the Big 12 and whatever and be more of like a real college football in the way that we knew it versus whatever Kevin Warren is cooking up as far as like money for players and things like that, which that's not an argument about whether that's right or wrong or not. That's just like clearly the direction as of his words today that they're going. I mean, what are you going to just leave like Notre Dame locked out and they're just going to sit there in the rain and just not react to that in any way? Like, I don't know. That's why this end game to me is very fascinating. And yeah, I just don't see the motivation right now, just me personally, for Notre Dame to join. If it became a point where it's like $60 million more than their $60 million they're making, then I think we start to get in territory where like it's just gobs of money to the point where you're like, okay, everybody, it's like live golf, you know? But I don't think that's what we're talking about right now. I think we're talking about, 20, 30, maybe even 40. But, you know, that's also what we know of Notre Dame right now and what they're doing, not what they could be making in a newer deal as well. So, I'm not on board the whole Notre Dame's going to be forced into doing anything just yet, and especially not like the Big Ten somehow going to force them to join the Big Ten and then everybody's just going to sit around and let that happen. If they do something, they will do it on their own volition, and there will be a big reason to do it. But I don't, quite frankly, just as a casual fan, I guess the evil side of me wants Notre Dame to join so that they're just like everybody else. And then the uniqueness of college football side of me doesn't want them to join because I do think they are the wild card that makes everything more interesting, as hard as that is to say, because we're all supposed to hate Notre Dame, actually. But they are the one that's kind of keeping this super interesting because they are that wild card that could sway things totally in one direction or keep things really kind of chaotic and uncertain and not allow a total hostile takeover, so to speak, of, by two leagues.
Well, and look, them wanting their independence, and look, Jack Swarbrick, he is the third most powerful guy in college athletics, if you really think about it.
And he would just be a commissioner.
He would just be an AD.
Or AD,
but like he would be giving up all of that sway.
Granted, he would be like the Texas AD back in the day, where you were a little bit higher than the Missouri AD and the Baylor AD and all that. But no, in this new setup, no, you'd really just be like the Alabama AD. You'd have like obviously a school with more influence, but the uniqueness of that would be totally different because you would just be eye to eye with everybody. You'd be eye to eye with Arkansas's AD, and you'd be eye to eye with Missouri's AD and Alabama's and or the Big Ten version of that. Yeah,
exactly. So it doesn't make sense to me. We'll take a break right here.